What do a speaking coach, a strategy consultant, and a business coach have in common? Sounds like the start of a bad joke, right? But honestly, it's all about finding out what people really do in their jobs. The stories, the struggles, the coffee breaks. The real stuff you won't find in a job title.
Welcome to a space where we sit down with people from all kinds of careers, have a laugh, and dive into what makes their work meaningful. Whether you're looking to learn something new or just here for a good story, let us be your guide. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Charlie.
And let's get casually grow. Today, we're sitting with Virginie Levraud. Virginie, you've been a business coach for more than 11 years and a digital nomad traveling around the world for also more than 11 years. You're the living proof that it's possible to live a creative lifestyle and to have success in business. I hope you'll share your secrets with us because it's an amazing combination. I'm very happy to be here with you today. Can you please start by telling us who you are, what you do, and how you got to do what you do?
Hello. Thank you for the invitation. So let's say that my name is Gini. It would be easier than saying in French. And then, thank you for the invitation. So I don't know where to start. Let's say that 11 years ago, I decided to change a little bit of life and start with just a world tour, something that you do when you want to change something or find something. And then I did that for a year, just traveling. So easy life, you don't have to work, you don't have to think about money, you don't have to think about anything. So I love this life. But more than this, I really enjoy the fact that it was a challenge every day. So I decided to find a solution to keep traveling full time. So not moving every week because it's so tiring, but finding a way to discover the world, still doing that every kind of, let's say every day, every week, but in the same time, have a solution and a real solution to have a job or have a business. I didn't know at that time that it would be a business. For me, it was more to find a job. And then because my job was already to be a strategist, to be a marketing, to find clients for the business I worked for before, I knew how to do that. So I start, because you always have to start. And then in 6 months, I had the proof that could be possible. So I just worked so hard for this. And now it's 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
11 years is not a short amount of time. There must have been a lot that went into not just the discovery, but the changes in just strategic landscape over a decade, right?
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about this off camera, but I kind of want to dig a little deeper because you reference yourself as a business coach, but there's a massive difference between consulting and coaching. So for those of you not in the know, coaches advise you on what to do, but they don't do it for you. They'll tell you all the strategy. They'll figure out, from start to finish what you should do, put it on paper, and then send it to you and say, good luck. But a consultant does that, plus actually does the work for you. So in the course of your 11 years, you kind of defaulted to this title of coach, but you are more of a consultant, no? How does that work? How do you actually do the work that you prescribe as well?
For sure, 11 years, there is like an evolution. First, an evolution of me as an expert. Like you are not the same expert 10 years ago and now, even if you're digital nomad or not, even if it's your own business or not, 10 years, you learn a lot. So first, there is an evolution in my expertise. Then there is another evolution, the relation I have with my clients. So, you know, when you start your own business, you're kind of dependent of your clients. You have no limits. You work at night, you work during the weekend, and then you act more than as a salary, like an employee, sorry. So, you know, all this evolution, it changed a lot of things. So when I started, I didn't know if I was a coach or a consultant or whatever. I was just doing what I knew to do, was like marketing way, acquisition, and a lot of things like this, but digitally. So I start like this. I was even doing websites that this is what I have too. I have a second business that is a digital agency specialized in web design. So, you know, I start where I knew to start. And then the client had like website, or the people that asked me how to do this could be email marketing, or it could be advertising, or it could be, not at that time, social network. It was not a tool at that time, not really. So if each time people were like, okay, Gini, how can I do that? I was giving advice, but then showing them too. So it was mentoring too. And then depending of the size of the company, I was doing freelancing too. So that's how I start. In French, we have an expression, I don't know how to say, but I put my hand in the mud. You know what I mean? Like I really work where I could find the job, because my purpose was not to settle a business. My purpose was to traveling, but to make it possible. And I didn't want to travel with just my backpack and just 20 euros in the pocket. I would like to travel and have a life that is not too tiring, that is not too creepy. I don't know what to say. So this well balance I had, like my job was a way to travel, and travel was the difficulty at that time for my job. I had to balance this. So that's how it starts. But then I discover with my clients, because this is only how you should create a business. You need to listen your clients, their needs. And because I listened that, I discovered that they needed a strategy. Oh, lucky me, that's my job. So then I implement how to do a strategy for clients. And first, I didn't know again if it was coaching, if it was consulting, if it was freelancing. It was a mix of all of this. But then a day, I tried to figure out how to be profitable, which is another step in your business. First, your first step is how to find clients, then how to get revenue that they are consistent. And then is, okay, now that I know all of this and it works, how I am profitable. And that's how I'm a business coach now, with programs, with signature programs, everything.
Wow, that's a very long journey. I like the approach of it seems that you were figuring things out on the way. You didn't go too much into the what you were doing, but you were more having a posture. Okay, this is where I am. This is what I want, and how can I get the life that I want while taking the opportunities that I see in my environment, in my current customers. I think this is
That's
a
true.
very nice way to create something, because many people sometimes they try to apply many ideas that comes from something external, but then they don't know how to integrate this knowledge into what they do. And your approach is also, I believe, what allowed you to become a coach and a consultant, because you got this knowledge by yourself and you understand it in your own way.
Exactly. And sorry.
Yes. No, go
For
ahead.
the small story, the first real big client I found it on a boat between Bali and Komodo.
Oh,
Just
the dream.
just because
Wow.
I was living the life and then get opportunity to talk about what I was doing, what I was able to give to them. And then I got my first client. Holiday for them, working holiday for me.
Wow. So then my question is completely different than the one that I had in mind. Can you please tell us this story in more details? That looks amazing.
That's really simple. Like I was on that boat between Bali and Komodo. It was like a 4 days trip going to Komodo Islands and then Flores Island. It's other island in Indonesia. And there was this couple, and she starts her business, and we talk a lot because I was starting to. So we start to have like this kind of intimate, not intimate, but like I understand you, you understand me. I have this, you can give me this. I can take this from you. We start to have this kind of relation on the boat, not only enjoying the trip, that it was quite amazing. Maybe it helps as well because you're relaxing, your every day is amazing. You discover so many different things like every day. So maybe it helps as well to have this kind of relationship. But then I start to talk what I could do, what I could see for her business for free, because I didn't even think that it could be a client. I was on a boat, and not like a luxury boat. We were all sleeping on the boat, all the same, like outside. It was not really a luxury boat. So I didn't even think at that time that I could have a client on that boat. And then we kept in touch. And a week after she came back home in France, she asked me, do you think you can quote what you said about advice and doing with me? And I said, okay. And then we start. And I'll always say that to my clients, because I have many clients that they are solopreneur, so they are alone. They start. Usually, it's women, and they start their business because they get the first kids, and now they want to be home to be able to share the time with family. So it's a different purpose to get a business. And a lot of them, they have a lot of doubt, and that's normal. We're all human, about their capacity, the kind of imposter syndrome and stuff. And I always say, you have to know something. When you got your first clients, you're so exciting because it's you're so excited, sorry. So because it's so interesting to get your first clients, it's challenging, it's a proof that your business starts. So no worries, you're gonna find time to learn more or to deliver more because you will have this power in you. So this is what happened to me. My first clients, she asked me a lot of things. I didn't know if I could provide this. I knew that I had the expertise because I did that in my job before. Like I work as employee before, in Paris. I was in company and stuff. But to do by your own with your brand is different. So yeah, I just had this power and I said yes. I didn't know how, but I knew that I could, that I will find the night and hours to do this. And we did.
Wow. That's that's probably my favorite way that coaches and independent consultants differ from traditional like employees, other than the fact that they don't have a boss. Their boss is their client, but it's the capability to find clients in super super unique situations. It always surprises me when people are surprised when I tell them about how I got my first client, and it was at a dive bar in New York, and everyone was, if I'm being honest, a little too tipsy. And CEO, I didn't know at the time, was just casually telling, like, just complaining about his entire business and saying, "Oh, I hated this, this, and this," and all I had to do was say, like, "Hey, have you tried this? Have you maybe considered this?" And once we all sobered up a bit, uh, I got a call from him, and he said, "Hey, you you do this independently, right? This is like your actual. Do you want to help me, and I'll pay you?" And at that point in my career, I wasn't even independent. I was working for a firm, and my firm doesn't do that. And he said, yeah, I don't care about the firm. I care about you. And so it's a very unique situation and a very cool one that I think a lot of independent contractors, I guess, is what we all kind of group in as have. But, when it comes down to the nitty gritty of how to run your business, it's super, super difficult. Can you talk to us about a little bit of the hard part of owning your own business? Because I think, it's super fun to talk about, oh, the unique client that you met on a boat, and, I get to travel a lot and I get to do this. But where did rubber first hit the road for you? Where did you say, like, oh man, maybe I made a mistake?
I didn't remember a lot about saying exactly like I did a mistake, because I always liked the life I had, even when in tough moments. But there was tough moment. The thing is that I'm lucky for that, or I don't know if it's luck, but I don't have kids. I don't have rent. I don't know. I mean, I have rent. When you need to give money to the bank, I forgot the loan.
Mortgage.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have this, so it's relaxing. Like if I don't earn all the money that I want, I still have enough money to feed myself. I would say it's less stressed than if I had responsibility as kids or mortgage or whatever. So that's the thing. But I remember when I start, just when I start, it took me 6 months to find my first clients. So 6 months, it's impossible to live without money for 6 months, right? And all the time I spent was for create this business or find clients. I found clients, but just for a few euros, nothing enough to talk about this. So what I did, I went to Bolivia in a city, and I found a woman that she was a solo woman with a kid. And I said to her, can I stay with you? And I pay for sure, but something ridiculous for us. But for her was not a life changing, come on, but it was something. And then I had nothing to pay except the food, but I mean, the food was not like so expensive. And I just spent all my time to work. So if I remember at that time, I was spending, let's say, something like $500 a month. So when you are able to do that, it's really helpful, because it was a tough moment, no money. But I mean, no money, but I could live, and I was in Bolivia. And I don't know if you've been there, but Bolivia is amazing. People are amazing. Everywhere in the world, people are amazing. But yeah, I was thinking that I was traveling still with no money, but you don't need that much money at that time. And then I was settle my business. So finally, it was a tough moment, like from another perspective. But when I was living there, I didn't think that. So I think really at that moment that it was a little bit hard for me. And then at that time, it was like 10 years ago. So I had to justify myself all the time about what I was doing, because digital nomad was not a word that existed at that time. People that they were traveling around the world, we called them hippies. And, they live from love and fresh water. And, so I had to justify myself all the time. So that was more hard for me than mistake that I could have in my business. And time after time, I start to have a normal business like everyone. We don't mind about the nomad part, but mistake was more about with clients. So I say when I start like the real business coaching, the mistakes I could say that I did a bit is to not focus of the mindset of people, and be a little bit too much, like just go, doubt out, what you feel out. I was a little bit like this, and that was a mistake. And we can see now, like 2025, even last year, we're talking a lot about burnout, the way that we have to take care of our health and mentally health as well. So I didn't know at that time. So maybe mistakes were more about this when I start coaching.
Wow. Yeah, completely on you with this, Virginie. Mindset is everything. The right, when you have the right mindset and you feel great about things, that's where you think this is the when life really has meaning. When you realize that this is the kind of foundation you want to leave in your life, and you realize that actually with this mindset I can overcome everything, but I need to take care of this mindset. It needs to be the priority. It's something that I rediscovered not so long time ago after having forgotten again, because unfortunately these things sometimes take a few attempts and a few tries to get there. Virginie, there are so many things that I would like to ask you. I'm also a huge traveler. I discovered traveling. First, I traveled because I wanted to overcome this shyness that I had, this difficulty to connect with other people. And it took me a while, but it worked. But I also understood that traveling can be a reason to live, and and it's beautiful when you meet people and you realize that there are so many things to explore and to do. Then I also realized that it can be difficult also, especially when you start. It's easy to isolate yourself. It's quite hard to get the momentum going, to put yourself out there, to do things, to meet people, to have fun, instead of just staying at your hotel all day, which I did for a while, and I felt quite depressed. After having traveled a few times, I became a digital nomad. And then I also learned that it's quite hard to work and travel at the same time. There is a balance that's extremely hard to get. So I were only a digital nomad for 6 months. So maybe there's also some lack of experience here, but I also changed the places very often. So I really wonder what kind of balance I've found someone with more than 11 years doing this lifestyle. I imagine you don't change the country or the city every week or every 2 weeks. Now, how does it look like from your point of view?
So first 6 months, it's enough to understand what is digital nomad life, because 6 months is really like a long time when you have to set to deal with a job and the envy of curiosity and discovering. I will talk about, like, to answer this question, until COVID time, not after, because there is a big difference between traveling before and traveling now. And digital nomad before and digital now. So my key, and I found it like working so hard on it, is it's not new, it's not a secret, is discipline. And you need to know why you do that. So when some people tell me, oh, tomorrow we go to visit this, and this is like, wow, just amazing. And you know that if you go with these people, the experience will be more amazing, because we know that people make the travel too. But then you are like, yes, but if I do that, I won't travel on this, but this is the why I can do that. So what should I choose first? My job? But then I start to be depressed because my job is too much time and then I can't travel, the purpose of my life. Or should I travel? But if I travel too much, I don't work, you understood. So what I start to do is to have an agenda, and then to have like block time in it and not changing it. Because in that way, I start to have a habit. And then when I had the habit that when I say it's time to work, I just work, focus on it, not distraction. And then when I said it's time for traveling, I travel and not thinking of my job. When I start to get this, which is super hard, and it took me maybe a year to get it, Then I decided that I could be more flexible. And I have to be flexible because depending where I am, the time difference is different. The local culture is different, and I live with local culture. I'm not someone, that's how digital nomad changed now, that I bring my own French culture and I go to Bali and I want to live as French. No. If I go to, I'm here in Mexico actually now, I eat Mexican. I live Mexican. I'm in a house of Mexican. I'm not in a condo, American condo. You know what I mean? I could. It's not criticized to do this, but how I live is locally. So if I choose to live locally, I have to deal with sometimes there is music at 5 because this is how it works here. But then if there is music at 5, I cannot record videos or whatever I want to do. So I need to deal with this. So I need flexibility every day. So this is the part that usually is difficult for people that they travel and work. And that's how a lot of people stop doing this. But if you like this, and that's what I have this kind of virus. I'm completely addicted of flexibility. So that's how it works. I'm addicted, completely addicted. If you tell me that every day I will do the same thing at 5, at 10, at 11, I'll be depressed. So maybe that's the key, to be in adaptation every time, but to like it, not because you have to.
You know, it's really weird because I thought about this a lot recently, and there are so many kind of preconceptions over how we look at diversity, you know, and complexity even. And you know, because when you say diversity, it sounds good. And it's a term in our lexicon that makes it positive. But what we're really looking at is complexity, right? And complexity in systems is dangerous. It's risk. It's the basis for all risk. But complexity in people is the exact opposite. It's the most benefit that you're going to get is being able to travel, being able to meet new people, being able to kind of put yourself in the shoes of someone that you might not have had the opportunity to live that life, but you have the opportunity to explore their background, their religion, their culture, everything that goes with it. And those are two diametrically opposed ways of thinking for two very important parts of our lives, right? You mentioned, okay, am I going to have a good, stable job, work, be, you know, stuck in one place when I really want to just go travel and meet people and do those things? But if I go and travel and meet people and, you know, do those things, am I not going to have a job? That's a huge problem that we fight, I feel, constantly. And your methodology of just breaking it down into and siloing it, right, is because yes, you have a specific set schedule, but you plan your diversity, you plan your complexity into that. That's a fascinating philosophy, and I think it's something that a lot of people have to kind of learn with. It's definitely a unique way of thinking today, but it is growing ever more because of how easily accessible the rest of the world is. You know, and with that in mind, I want to kind of deep dive into your experience with culture and changes in culture, because it must be incredibly difficult. I mean, I know for me personally, I grew up well, between Mexico City and Buffalo, New York. And then I moved to Queens, New York, which, if you don't know, is per capita the most diverse place in the entire world. I think it's literally one of the weirdest statistics I've ever learned. But when I came here and I had to learn, uh, you know, how to order my food in Afghani, and then go and talk to the local Haitian guy and pick out some fruits in French, and then go, you know, another block and have a drink at the Irish pub. it was a culture shock. And I'm sure with 11 years under your belt, you have more than enough experience to say, okay, now I'm comfortable being able to hop onto a plane to, whichever country, whichever city you think about. But for people who are just starting out, that must be an incredibly daunting task. How do you, or I guess think back to maybe the beginning of your journey to when you were first traveling and first exploring. I'm sure you had the drive of like, yes, I want to go to this new cool country and experience everything. But you must have had some moments where you were like, this is not what I grew up with. This is not how I would do things. This is very, I guess, un-Parisian, but I'm here and I should do it. How do you get yourself comfortable experiencing the uncomfortable?
Okay, there is so many things to tell about what you said. Just a small thing, when you said what you experienced, the culture shock in Queens. For me, that's comfortable because you can pick so many different kind of food in one street. Comfort. When you don't have it, you need to deal with the fact that you don't have it. Imagine I am vegetarian, or I'm not, but no, maybe it's not the good depending. And I live in Argentina where there is meat everywhere. How I can deal with this? That's a small example, and people are gonna laugh with this example. But what I have to deal with is to adapt with what I had. And you know how I did? It's not about me, it's about people that I was with. What I like is to observe and talk with local. Local means nothing because local means just people that they used to live in this place, but they could be in any kind of statue, any kind of education, any kind of religion in the same place. But when I say local, is that they know about the thing. When I started to travel, we had no internet if you were not in hotel. So just the fact to go in a place by your own with a book, I didn't have a book, it was too heavy. So the only thing I had was my hands, my smile, because it's a universal language, and asking to people, where should I go? How I could go there, but sometimes not in a language that we had in common. I remember a time I was in Peru and I was lost after 12 hours walking. I did a really big mistake at that time. The night was coming. I was in mountains, 17 kilometers far from the village, like lost and a little bit in danger. And I just knocked on the door. It was like Quechua, which is local people in mountains in Peru. They don't even speak Spanish. And they saw me, they understood, to be honest. I was crying, checking, and like they could know that I was completely lost and I shouldn't be here. But I spent the most amazing night with them, talking, but not talking because we had no common language. But what I did at that time, I just had confidence in people. And this is what you discover when you travel alone. And it's not a question of man or woman, it's just traveling alone. You start to have something, another sense that you can't really explain. That if you can be confident in this moment with these people or in this area, you don't know why. And then what you have to follow, you never follow the polite education you had. My education is to say, do you want a cup of coffee? Yes, for sure, because it's the polite way. No, if you don't feel it, you say no. And that's the only thing I can advise about traveling. Not necessarily alone, but alone a little more. So that's how I start to be confident because I followed this. And then I discovered that I had to reconnect. That's what I want to say about what you said. You have to reconnect with roots that we are all same as human. I give you an example. The people that they work in agriculture, they have like cows and animals in farm. If one day they plan to harvest the field, but this day it's rainy so much, what they do, they adapt. because they are connected with the nature and not connected with the plan, with the schedule, with how we should do as a system. They just connect with the nature. And traveling around the world with so many culture, so many foods, because food change your day, you know, with time to go to sleep. Sometimes I was in village that when the sun goes down, no more electricity, no lights, you go to bed. So when you reconnect with all of this, you find a way that to adapt because you don't have the choice, but you don't even think about that you don't have the choice because it's just normal for the people you are with. And because it's normal with them, for them, you feel confident because they show you. So you have to act as a person that is like a sponge and just accept the difference. So maybe it's a personality, I don't know. I don't say that it's easy, but that's how I do. Like the locals show me how to do. And they're super happy to show you how to do. They want to share how it works for them and it works perfectly, you know? It's different, but it's perfectly well done because it's where they are. So I don't know if it's a good answer, but and I use this in my business too. That's, you know, when I have clients, they're all different. They all have different kind of business, different kind of mindset, different kind of doubt. And all of this that I learn and I still learn every day in my travel, it helps me how to be a good coach with my clients. Because the adaptation is easier for me because I know that we could all be different, but not so different because we all have the same roots. Yes.
Yes. Wow. So I would not be surprised that this, in retrospective, this moment that where you were in the mountain and the night was coming is one of the best moments in your entire life. Am I?
Yes, but now, at that time, at the moment, no.
Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, yeah. I also have one like this. Yeah. So I try to keep it short, but I was a beginner traveler, and I decided to go to Cairo, and I chose an apartment not in the center of Cairo, but in a little bit farther. So many problems along the way, but I finally managed to go in the place. But the guy I was supposed to rent the apartment wasn't answering his phone. And so I was in the middle of the street of Cairo. Everything was written in Arabic. And it started to get cold because it was January. And so I had to find something to do. And I just saw a place with a few people standing. And so I went there and I tried to, hey, first obviously I hesitated a little bit, but then I realized that you don't really have any choice here, Jeff. So just go. And no one spoke English. So I tried to make some gestures and at some point they took the phone that I had in my hand, and that's when my mind started to run a little bit, and I saw that, wow, without a phone, that's gonna be way harder for me to get out of here. And I started to be a bit anxious until they showed me a chair, so I sat down, and then I saw children. And then I realized that, yeah, Jeff, you're not gonna get killed in the middle of a street like this. People are not like this. So in the end, I found my place. The guy answered the phone, and they got someone speaking English. So the things got, and I realized that since my first step talking to this group of people, they did everything they could to help me. And that was like click click. And that's with my experience is usually what happens. So obviously you can have bad encounters, but huge majority of people, like 99.9% of the people, they want just one thing, is to help you and to show you their best selves. That's completely life-changing.
And what you're saying is about time. You took time. You took time to see it and wait that they found the solution. And for me, luxury in life is time. Because first we lost time, we never gain it again. When you lose money, you can gain again money, you know, but not time. And then when you take your time, you discover more about others, about yourself. You're more clever and more open about opportunity. Time for me is luxury. And your situation you explained is about time as well. Not only confident. If you were like, oh, I'm lost. Can you help? No, you took my phone. You can't help. And you left because it's not fast as you think it should be. You lost this magic moment.
Oh yeah. You know what? I talk too much in this episode. Usually I talk less, but I have another anecdote that seems to be very relevant to this. I used to have a lot of social anxiety, and like many people who have social anxiety were a little bit shy. They are afraid of blanks. What happens when suddenly, oh, there is nothing to say, and then I try to think of all the possible topics, but no one thinks good enough, and I don't know what to do, and the stress is, yeah. And it happened to me in Taiwan, and I was talking to an old guy with probably like more than 65. I think he was a American retiree, and I started to stress. At this moment, I realized that's what happened all the time when I'm in a similar situation. But this time, I had another one of those clicks, and I thought, Jeff, this guy is like could be your grandpa, is more than double your age. It's fine, even if you don't come with anything. The guy is probably not feeling very anxious about you, and is probably gonna be okay. And so I started to feel a little bit better because I realized that this anxiety that I was feeling, it wasn't about me. It was because I didn't want to make the other person uncomfortable. But the thing I did is that I thought that let's just see what happens if I don't say anything. And so I was just here with this discomfort, and I waited. And after a while, the guy he looked at me and said, "That's interesting." And so I don't know why I said that exactly, but I thought maybe it's like, oh, this guy's staying because usually at that moment people leave. But anyway, we had just after that one of the most meaningful conversations that I had in my life. But because I waited, and even in discomfort, instead of doing everything I could to remove the discomfort. And it's what I teach for people who do public speaking, who talk to people. Is when you face discomfort, do not avoid it. Just try to breathe with it. Just try to accept it. And usually everything that's great comes after that. And you get the bonus and the confidence to know that discomfort, which can be the worst enemy, is actually something that you can just live with. And once you can do that, there is no other enemy that shows up. It was the final enemy. But anyway, I want to ask you another question, Virginie. I hope you will not sidetrack me again to another one of my stories. So you have this business, and you have many downtimes because you travel, and traveling is your first goal. So you have all those downtimes, and you say that you're very like you. If you decide that it's a day you don't work, you don't work. But how do you make sure that when you have those downtimes, the business is still going great? You know, many people tell you that you should, when you get a message from a lead or a customer, you should always answer right away. And if you don't, you will lose many opportunities. Can you tell us how you managed to do that?
Okay, so first of all, in 2025, internet is everywhere. And this is amazing how everywhere is internet. In some places in the world that you don't think there is internet, there is internet. So, first of all, my phone, we have all smartphones. So you can answer everywhere. So that is the first thing. The second thing, I'm not a surgeon and I don't save life. So if I don't answer in 5 hours, believe me, I don't feel guilty because I'm not a surgeon saving lives. So, and the people I work with, they know this and they feel the same. So we have like perfect match for that. Then I am really well organized. So for example, on my phone, I have concentration things. So I know from this hour to this hour, I can have notification from work, and from this hour to this hour, I don't. So that's how I have like a well mindset, not mindset, like a healthy, I don't feel so frustrated when I travel or when I work that I have or not notification. So that's really, again, organization. But how I do, and this is why I said I'm not a hippie. This is that I rent all the time a good place where I have internet, where I can have AC, lights, all the good condition to work. Because I choose to travel and it doesn't have to impact my clients. It doesn't have to impact the quality of expertise, quality of work I do or I have for them. So I choose to travel, but then I choose to be responsible with this kind of lifestyle. So I always have a place where it could be perfect. But sometimes there is problems. For example, Philippines, there is internet everywhere, but not a good internet. Like for this kind of podcast, impossible. So usually I just check all around if there is co-working. And in 2025, again, there is co-working everywhere in the world. So now I don't have problem anymore. But before I had a lot, but I was, when I start, like 2015, 16, at that time, I was planning my trip according like meetings. And if the meeting was like really bad, I was just gift another meeting. You need to be responsible. Yeah. But 2025, easy, really easy everywhere.
It's really interesting, and I want to bring this back to something that you just mentioned is that, okay, yes, it's easy to be connected, and it's easy to make sure that your business doesn't suffer from your uh, lifestyle, essentially. And you are not performing life-saving heart surgery. If in 5 hours you don't get back to someone, that's fine. And for a lot of people, they kind of misconstrue the idea that, okay, because I am paying you, you work on my schedule, you work on my time. It is my needs that come above yours. And I think that's where a lot of consultants, independent consultants, and coaches, especially beginners of those areas, really, really have a difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
When I started my consultancy, I took every call. I took every meeting. I bent over backwards. I remember taking a meeting with an executive in Japan. I think it was like 3 a.m, something like that. It was something crazy for me. And luckily I don't sleep. Jeff knows this, but if I were a normal person, that would be horrendous. But as I started to develop my business, I realized, okay, well, listen, they really need my services. If I tell them like, hey, give me like a couple hours, I have to go pick up my dog from daycare, or I have to, go get to my co-working space, so it's going to take me an hour, their life isn't going to fall apart. And
Mm-hmm.
if it does, they need someone much more expensive and much more like comprehensive than my services. That's not that was a mistake on their end, not mine. So we teach our clients how to treat us. And the one thing that I genuinely hate especially working in a client-centered service, is that so many times we have this need to go above and beyond for our client, to say, okay, we're going to give you the moon. But that is such a dangerous mindset, because at the end of the day, if what we have doesn't equate to what they gave us, we work for them, not with them. And then that just defeats the purpose of being independent as a whole. So I guess my question is kind of like boiled down to, when you take on new clients, when you go through the process of this client acquisition, and you already know that they're going to be the kind of client that calls you at 4 a.m. and demands that you need to have the deliverables turn around in an hour after they ask. How do you go about either saying, no, we're not going to do that, here's how it's going to be done, or even better, straight up just saying, you know what, I'm not for you. Good luck finding someone who meets your needs, but that's not going to be me. How do you have that difficult conversation with those clients?
So first of all, you're right. When I start, I was doing the same, answering all the calls, waking up at 3 a.m. if I need to. You're right. And that's how we are not a beginner anymore. All you said, that's really right. So how I do now, first, I never start with a client without a first call. But it's not a call to talk about what we're going to do together. It's a call. I don't know what about. And then, and I want a video call because I want to see the body language. I want to see how they react. I want to see all of this. And lucky I am, usually I can see the red flags. So it's really on the beginning. So depending of the kind of demand they have, I will maybe say that maybe I'm not the person for them, and I advise them to go to another person because I know this kind of person will deal with this. Or I say exactly my limits. And because I said it, and now that I have 10 years, 10, 11 years working, it's not really a problem to follow it. So sure, habits make it more easier, but I don't have problem to say it. There is a big difference between French way to work and, let's say, English way to work. English are really like separating. When I say English, like Anglo-Saxon, do you say that in English? The people, the English speaker. So it could be American, Australian, they separate business and life a lot. So when they talk business, it's straight. So it's easy. So when I have American clients or Australian clients, it's so easy for me to say them things. But when I have French clients, you need to have like form, I'm sorry to be sorry, to be sorry, to sorry for this, which is okay. It's another way to say, but I am more the English speaker way. So they know me because this is how I communicate. This is how I am showing off on social network. So they are not really surprised anymore. So when I want to say no, I just say no. But wait, this is really not something that I had from scratch, from the beginning. At the beginning, I was working more hours until burnout, until depression, until, the stress when you have a call from a client. And one day I just said, okay, I will start with a contract. So because you have like a contract that you can show, so it's your urgency secure. I don't know how to say, when you have this, it's easier to say it was not in the contract, so maybe I cannot do that. So that's I advise to beginners, make a contract. So it's your secure thing. But then after you have like templates, email templates to reply on this certain non-really comfortable question. And then you start to have process to say no. And then you start to realize that more you put limits, better clients are, because more you give them, more, I would like to say a vulgar thing, bad people are they. So yeah, this is what you said. More you work, more you realize that limits or a good relationship with your clients, and they are happy. If the clients are not happy, it's not only because of the work or expertise, it could be about limits.
You know, I completely agree with the limits, and that it makes everyone's life not only easier but better. And I'm a strange person because whenever someone gets laid off, I say, "Oh my God, that's so awesome! You can do anything you want now. That's incredible news." And whenever someone has bad news, and I'm like, "This is gonna be great because it'll make everything good in your life so much better." And so when I talk to other coaches and other consultants, and I tell them, my philosophy on how to handle bad clients, they look at me like I grew a third head, because my favorite thing in the world to hear from a client, other than yes, this is perfect, I want to pay now, here's my info, is no. And a quick no, and a fast no, and a direct no. Because that means we're not wasting time anymore. If I'm not right for you, that's perfect. That I'm so glad we found that out in a 30-minute, 15-minute call, because then that means I can move on and I can find a client that's better for me, and you can move on and find a provider that's better from you. But the counterintuitiveness of saying no is such an incredible answer feels horrible, especially for people starting out in a coaching or in a consulting capacity, because they're obsessed with the idea of yes, to the point where they think maybe in a longer drawn out conversation, and maybe we'll compromise here and there and make it work. They think that is going to get them to the yes that they need, and that's can't be farther from the truth. I couldn't even stress that enough. And with your expertise in your specific area of expertise, which is acquisition, it feels like you should be inching them closer and closer and closer towards yes. But I see you nodding your head saying like, yes, absolutely. No is a great answer. How did you, because I feel like all of us on the call finally had that moment where we were like, you know what? No is perfectly fine. No is exactly where I want. How did you get yourself from the amateur that was someone who's always looking for yes, always looking, even if maybe is on the table, that's good, to, you know what? This is fine. No is perfectly okay. I'm going to go find a great client, and you're going to go find a great provider, and that's perfect. How did you get to wanting the no?
Two things. The first thing is I had these clients that I work 100 hours, not years, 100 hours for $1,000. I had that client. And that client make you feel, okay, I spent 5 months working on him. I could have 5 more clients. So this make you realize that you did a big mistake. So what I did, I changed the profile of my dream clients. This avatar marketing way, we always say he has to be demographic, and then what is his interest, and then how he acts, how he purchase, blah, blah, blah. But I add something always. How is he values? How he act when he work with you? How he respects your work? How he wants to work with you, and why? And if I add this, I know more about how he gonna be to be a client. And when you start to see your clients as human, that could be bad person, could be toxic person, could be really nice person, could be anything. When you start to see them like this too, you know how the relationship will be or could be before. So you can be a no. It could be a no. And then you're happy with this, because it's not a no, is just because it's not your dream client. So why, exactly what you said, wasting time for him and for me? I don't want quantity, I want quality, because quality is more clients that I don't have to find. So your business is healthier You spend less time to find clients because you worked with the good dream clients. And dream clients is not only the marketing avatar, but as well the human being avatar. That's
Yes. Whoa. Yeah. There's something I realized. I've been a freelancer before being a public speaking coach. So I've actually have 14 years of experience in solo. So I also faced all those problems. I have to say many more, obviously. That's how you learn. There is one thing that I realized one day is that the people you work with, they make your life. It's just as easy as that. If you work with people you don't like, you have a shitty life. If you work with people you love, your life is amazing. And so, of course, it might be tempting, especially when you are in a bad situation, to compromise. But it's extremely dangerous because if you compromise, then your life starts to degrade. And then it's harder to get the clients you want because you feel depressed, you don't have energy. So that's an amazing tip. Ginny, I'd like to ask you another question. I think you told us that you work mostly with solopreneurs. I wonder, is as a consultant and as a coach, if there are one or two tips that you keep telling people over and over and over, but they never seem to get it.
Okay, I start with one because the second one is most important. It's okay to have fear. You say have fear? Yes, sorry. It's okay to have fear, to have doubt, to not be sure, but then act with fear, with doubt, that's the first advice. Be in action, make you get some results. And because of these results, you're in positive attitude, and then you find a little bit more light in what you do and purpose, and then doubt and fear disappear. And usually when you have fear and doubt, it's just because it's something new for you. And when we learn a new language, or if you start your first meal cooking by yourself, you are in doubt because you never know the recipe, but then you did it and then you're right. So usually when you have fear, good, take it, but realize it is just because it's new. The first time you bike was hard, right? We need someone running after us in case we fall down. We had the small wheel in case, but then we practice and then we get it. Imagine your fear, you have fear. You never go on bike and you just take a book to learn how to bike. You will never bike because a book is not enough. You have to practice biking to know how to drive a bike. So first is this, act. It means that you're going to practice and then it's going to be something normal for you. So for me, that's really the first advice. And it could be in life as well. It's not only in business. And the second advice is definitely about connection. With the social networks, with the zapping way, I don't know if we say that in English, the fact that you zap fast, like 15 seconds of stories, 15 seconds of reels, and then you can accelerate it. Everything, you can watch YouTube video in multiply by 2 times speed. All of this make us thinking that everything has to be fast. Even in relationship, in love, in seduction, every kind of aspect of life has to be fast. No, every kind of aspect, and in business particularly, is about connection. If you know more about your clients, if you know more about your market, and you take time again to discover in deep, then you don't have red flags clients. Then you know how to put limits. And if you connect with people, you have more opportunity. You have clients that they choose you and they say yes to you, not to your solution only, because you have competitors that have the same solution, and I'm sure they're good, but they say yes to you because of this connection. So when you look for clients, don't do that. Look for connection. Be interested by people, like you want to know people. And then when you know people, you see they will be as well for you, and they will be clients, like more naturally. That's my second advice. When you start, be natural, go connection. Imagine you are in a wedding and you talk with all the guests. That's your future clients. That's it.
It's really funny that you mentioned that, because first of all, I'm a networking coach, and I love going to networking events. I love, going to conferences, things like that. And I really enjoy doing those things. But going to a wedding and talking to everyone there, for some reason in my head, it's just like, it's the most like loathsome activity I can think of. Like, I can go to a cybersecurity conference, and Jeff knows this better than I do. I am a troglodyte. I don't understand anything regarding tech, but I would love to talk to people about tech and learn more about it and get to know them. But for some reason, a wedding just makes me think like, oh, dude, I just want to get in and out. Um, I think we found my networking kryptonite. I'm gonna have to work on that. I'm gonna have to crash a couple weddings. And I think with that in mind, though, finding these weird kryptonites and finding these interesting things about ourselves, that's what Jeff and I started Casually Pro for. We were fascinated about all the little weird things about people that love what they do and are excited to grow and help other people grow as well. And because of that, we don't want this to just be a conversation about you and your experience, but we also want to learn about what got you there. And part of that are skills, right? There are a ton of things that you've developed over your 11 years and even possibly before that, that got you to where you are today. But I was wondering if you could just share one skill that brought you, a big bulk of success that got you here, so that someone out there listening to your story can start practicing that today. What's one skill you would share?
Curiosity and learning. I know it's maybe not what you expect. You can learn everything you want. There is not a question of age or, just be curious. And to be curious, you need to be open to others, not only focus on you, which is good sometimes too. Take care of yourself. But yes, for me, the really capacity or think is to be curious and learning. And you don't have to learn everything in deep. Sometimes you can have like a surface learn, but then you have enough to start a conversation. And again, to have a connection and maybe an opportunity and maybe a client or maybe someone that recommends you, So for me, the good skill is learning. Not to know everything about everything, but to be curious.
Beautiful. I don't have anything to add. For me, it's also one of the probably the most important thing to have. Yeah, and everything can be learned. I mean, personality, even personality traits. Many people think they're fixed, but no, they're not. You can
even if it's not easy. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's not easy, but yeah, at least let's try.
Wow, amazing, Gini. Thank you so much for all this philosophy, all these tips, all the value that you gave us, all the positivity that you gave us, the energy, or there's so many things during this interview. There is one last question that I would like to ask you, that we ask all of our guests. It's a hard question. There is a lot of pressure usually when you get to know this question. So I'm gonna start. I will hand you the magic microphone for 2 minutes. And the reason the magic microphone is magic, it's because it allows you to leave a universal and timeless message to everyone who's on Earth, people who are here today, but even people who are not born yet. It's your moment to leave this message. You can, of course, take as long as you want to sing because we will remove the reflection time. Here's the mic. What do you want to tell everyone?
Okay, it's a really hard question because I have so many ideas and in same times completely empty brain at that time. I, I say that if you ask something that could be for people that they were not born yet, I say everything that you have in mind, like to do in your life, or business or love or whatever, is possible, but not magically. Like you need to create your own magic. You need to work. It's not meaning work hard, could be work smart to do that. And always have the creativity of making this possible. So how you can do this, but in the same time to have like a feet in the society. Never go out of the society, but never stay 100% in the society model as well. Always have a balance between what you want for you, you feel the path you want for you, and the typically path that people can teach you, because they teach you something. If this system model is like this, there is a good reason. But if you feel you can have another creative path for your own life, do that as well. So that's a well balance in between. Yes, that's what I
Yes.
want.
Woo, woo. And lastly, where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me on my website, captaingini.com, and Instagram, same name, and other social networks, same name.
Awesome. Ginny, thank you so much for inspiring us, not just to grow in terms of our career, but grow in terms of our appreciation of the world around us. It's been an incredible opportunity to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very
giving
much.
me.
Now, if you made it this far and you're still listening, make sure to like, subscribe, send this to a friend who needs a little inspiration to book that plane ticket or get that hotel or just find a new job overseas. And make sure to check out Casually Pro every Wednesday, bringing you the best and coolest professionals this world has to offer. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.